Hi, my name is Jeff Pagano, and welcome to Harping on Rugby. Now, our main content each week is our wrap podcast, which have analysis of the latest match for the Leinster or Ireland men's team. And that leaves this 80 plus column as a sort of a weekly newsletter for taking a quick look at the rest of the rugby world to see what's going on. Now, for this video, it's all about our feature known as the Front Five, which is a selection of 5 eye catching, egg chasing quotes and links from around the rugby media landscape. As you can see, I've got a whole host of headings lined up here. So let's crack on with this week's article, starting with a very sad story that's come out in the last 24 hours. This article is from the UK Independent. It's by Luke Baker, and the headline is "Who is Tom VOYCE, former England rugby player presumed dead after being swept away by Storm Dara?" It's a tragic story. Apparently, he was the town where he was, Alnwick. It's the River Aln. It flows through it, and it was flooded, and he was trying to get across it, and he was swept away. And what's worse for his family is that he did, they haven't found a body yet. So it's they hopefully this will get resolved quickly. I don't think there's much hope of finding him alive, but I hope I hope they do find it for his family's sake. But anyway, this article tells us about who he was and what kind of a career he has. The quote I chose was, "He helped Wasps win the Premiership title at Twickenham in each of his first 2 seasons there. He did have a good bit of success." Now, from an Irish point of view, I mean, he did get some England caps. Um, this isn't something that you'd want to remember him for, but if you want to associate with him, if a Leinster fan wants to associate with him, if you remember that wonder try that Brian O'Driscoll scored at the RDS, where he kicked over, and then he kicked it twice ahead and then dotted it down against Wasp, that really well known try. He was the last player tackling him as Bod got over the line. VOYCE was. So this was it's a tragic story, and this is a good article for honoring his rugby career and his life as a rugby player for Wasps and England. So condolences to his family there. Okay, our second article is from the Irish Times, and the headline reads, "Mike Prendergast confirms his name is in the hat for Munster head coach job." This is John Fallon from the Irish Times. This thing about the Munster coach is going to go on until the end of the season. I don't understand why they don't just resolve it now. I know they'd want to get it right, but it was such an unusual stage of the season for the coaching job to be made vacant. And basically, I mean, you can't judge your decisions based on what kind of questions the press is going to ask you, but they're not going to stop asking until they do make an announcement. I mean, every press conference. So I think what Mike Prendergast here, he was asked, and he just said, "Listen, yeah, my name is in the hat." I mean, the quote I've chosen here is, "I've signed up for 2 years to be the attack coach, and then obviously the head coach role would be something that the club will make a decision on." But he also says that he is in the hat, so it is something he would want. Personally, I think he's the obvious choice. I think he's ready for a head coach role, and I think the Munster job would suit him down to the ground. I was years ago, I was at an AIL match at St. Mary's at Templeville Road. It was St. Mary's against Young Munster, and Mike Prendergast was the Young Munster's head coach. And of course, in the AIL, the coaches don't sit up in the stands; they're on the side of the pitch. And where I was standing watching the game, he was, I was right in front of him, so I was basically watching him coach, and you could see that he had a control of the team. You could say, I don't know how to explain it, but he really looked like he had a handle on this coaching job. And of course, we all know he went on to coach in France, and now he's at Munster. And I do think he's ready for a head coaching role. And I think this would suit him. I think he would know enough about the Munster systems rather than bringing someone in from outside. I think that he would be a good choice. But again, it's not for me to say what Munster do, but of all teams, but you think that they'd want to make a decision on it quickly, sooner rather than later. And if it's to be him and he's already there, they want to give him the job now because that'll give him a boost and it'll give the whole province a boost as well. To name it quickly. And the longer they go without naming him, the more he's going to think, well, obviously they don't rate me. So there's a kind of a double sided. I think, I think they do need to think it is important for their performances this season in particular. I think it is important that they make a decision quickly. But anyway, that's my thoughts on that. Okay, we're moving on to another Munster-born coach. Munster-based, originally based coach. He wasn't born in Munster. This article comes from BBC.com. Ronan O'Gara keen on an international job, but not Wales. I mean, this is like, ouch. This is another case of being caught up in a press conference. He was asked about test rugby, and he says, "Oh, there's some test rugby jobs that I bite your hand off for." And of course, what happened then was they put it to him, the Welsh job, because obviously what's happening in Wales, Warren Gatland, I mean, they're sinking further and further down with every performance, with every loss. So it's going to be a case of, well, he's going to be, that job could be coming up soon. And he just wanted to put the brakes on that. I don't think he thought it through when he said, I take any test job. So he pointed out that, oh no, his quote is, without lacking humility, I would prefer Ireland, England, or France. That's what I was talking about. Basically, the perennial top three from the Six Nations, not from anyone from the perennial bottom three. I mean, the fact is that the Welsh should be contenders for the top three in each Six Nations, but they're not at the moment, not the way things are going at the moment. So, but I just thought that was an interesting, it's easy to get caught out at these press conferences. And of course, we'll have another press conference quote, in a later article. But anyway, that's that one anyway. That's O'Gara, keen on an international job, but not Wales. I mean, that hurts. That's kind of rubbing it in a bit too much. Okay. Fourth article now is from skysports.com. This is a story we've been following for well over a year now. It's I call it Hog Watch. It's the legal case against Stuart Hogg for basically harassing his ex-wife. Now, again, I want to make it clear, my interest in this is not in the actual case itself. It's the lengths to which we separate a rugby player and what they do on the pitch with what kind of person they are, what they do outside the game. Someone scores tries for fun. Someone's a great player. Someone's an international captain. Someone wins a Champions Cup with Exeter. Someone has such a distinguished career, does all these things. He got an MBE for his services to rugby. But then you find out that you read some of the details of what he did outside. Is it important to separate them, or should you not separate them? I'm actually not sure myself 100% either way, but I do think it does merit a discussion, because you do think less of, I personally do think less of someone if I realize that they've done some of the things. He pled guilty to the case of the actual case of harassment. This article, which is from skysports.com, is about his breach of his bail conditions. And his bail conditions were, he was to stay away from his ex-wife, but he ended up sending her 200 text messages in a day or something like that. He'd appear at all hours. There's all sorts of allegations. It's all there in the article. You read it yourself. But as the quote is, for the bail breach, he was placed on a 5-year non-harassment order and fined £600 with an additional £40 victim surcharge. Now, again, I'm not a lawyer. I really don't want to discuss the ins and outs of the case, but I'm just thinking, he's playing in Montpellier now, and I don't think this. I think this would have to affect his legacy. There's no doubt he's had a distinguished career as a rugby player up to this point. But when you find out what's been going on behind the scenes, and there's other players out there as well who have had issues, domestic abuse, issues with women in particular, that have gone on to play and continue to play test rugby, club rugby, top level rugby, and it's just I don't know. It just doesn't sit well with me. That's I guess that's my overall point. But listen, is this the finale? Is this the end of it? We'll just have to wait and see. But it looks like that on the legal side of things that it's done for now. But we'll see. We'll see. I mean, maybe he won't honor these conditions. It says he's got 5 years. So can he improve? And if he does, more power to him. If he manages to change and for the better, for the sake of his kids and all that stuff, I'd give him every opportunity. I'd be the first to say it. So we'll see what happens going down the line. Okay. Fifth and final article this week is from the 42.ie. It's also our clickbait of the week. It's from a press conference. The headline reads, "We're able to bring in a few players from overseas, but we're so constrained." This is to do with Leo Cullen press conference after their win over the Bristol Bears. Like I say, we did a wrap pod for that. Check it in our podcast feed. And there's a video for it as well. You'll see that in our YouTube feed as well. But Leo was asked, because Leo had one hell of a bench in Bristol. He was able to bring on RG Snyman. He was able to bring on Jordy Barrett, of course, and he was asked about that in the press conference, which was kind of inevitable. So I think basically what he was trying to do, he was trying to push back. And if you read the entirety of the quote with what he said, right, what he's basically saying is, well, we have produced a lot of our own players as well. Two of the other players he was able to bring off the bench as well were Andrew Porter and Claylan Doris. It wasn't just Snyman and Barrett that were coming off the bench, and Leinster have put a lot. Leinster's academy has produced a lot of their own talent going back over the years. So, while I think he was right to say that it's just a bit disingenuous to say that Leinster's success is only because of these players, his use of the word constrained, I can see how that will, because I've spoken a lot on these videos and I've spoken a lot on Harping on Rugby over the years about the existence of this groupthink that I call ABL, and it's anyone but Leinster. And it's there's this perception that Leinster get favorable treatment by the IRFU, and that the existence, it's a groupthink that acknowledges the existence of a groupthink within the IRFU that feels that they have to look after Leinster first. I've always been willing to have a conversation about that, but I also want to acknowledge the existence of the opposite groupthink, the ABL groupthink. And there's Discord channels, there's websites, there's podcasts, there's all sorts of content out there which is dedicated to this, that has it sort of this just assumption that Leinster just get everything they want, and they get everything they want. The other provinces get nothing, and that's just it. Like I say, willing to have a discussion about that, but it's not it's not everything. It's not as simple as that. It never is. But anyway, this word constrained used by Leo Cullen was obviously going to resonate with the ABL mentality. And whoever wrote this headline, whoever picked out this little quote for what he said, what he actually said was, "We're so constrained in what we actually bring in, so we spend a hell of a lot of time trying to develop what we have in our own backyard." In other words, Leo Cullen just can't click his fingers and just get a player like Jordy Barrett. It's not as simple as that. Jordy Barrett was available. He wanted to come to Leinster, and he did. And that's fine. Same with Snyman. But it's not like a top 14 club where you can go to the rich owner and just say, "Listen, we need to bring in these players," and then they do. It's important that Leinster produce their own players and they have done, and the success has been mostly based on that. And you can't just say, you can't say that the win over Bristol was only because of these players when so many of these players were actually produced from within the club as well. And I think it's a good pushback, but just the use of that word constrained. I don't know. Is he regretting saying that now? I don't think he cares. I don't think he cares if there is an ABL mentality. I don't think Leo Cullen personally, I don't think it bothers him at all. Not that, it's not that it bothers me. I just want to acknowledge it. I just want to acknowledge this ABL, mindset that's out there. And this article, this quote in particular has brought that to the surface again. So that's our clickbait of the week. And like I say, the 42.e, they knew exactly what they were doing, putting this at the headline. They put it in the headline. They put it in the quotes, on the tweets to make you click to the article. Leo Cullen says he's constrained is gonna get people rage clicking. So it's you can't really blame them for doing it, I suppose, but I'm going to call it out anyway. That's my point on that. All right, listen, that completes this week's Front Five. Remember, we do a lot of other regular features on our 80 plus column. You can get it all just by heading over to our website at harpenandrugby.blog. Next up, here at Harpen Manor, we turn our attention to the visit of Claremont to the Aviva Stadium. So please be sure to subscribe to our channel as well as our other social media platforms. You can find those at linktree/Harpen on Rugby. Until next time, stay safe, everyone. Slán.